The opinions on Nerd Talk Radio are solely those of enthusiastic nerds. Do not listen if you're faint at heart. You have been warned.
Welcome to Nerd Talk. I am German, the film guy.
And I'm Blake, the marvelous superfan.
And I'm Devin, the marvelous DC superfan.
What? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. You're sitting me next to this fat lover?
Look, go hop on Iron Man's just like the rest of you Marvel fanboys.
Guys, relax. This is a family show. And welcome to Nerd Talk, and this is our first show for quite a long time. We haven't been on for, seems like years. But hey, we're back, and we're here, and we're ready to go. So, welcome.
About time.
Anyway, so to start off, we got a little plan for today. We have, first off, we're going to kind of introduce our week. Something will...
Let's, relax. Take it slowly, man.
Take it
Moving
slowly.
Too fast.
Moving too fast.
How was your weekend?
So basically, we're going to talk about our week, and then after that, we're going to actually have a discussion on Multiverse. And then on the our second half of the show, we're actually going to discuss, and I believe Blake has it better than me at the moment, if you could explain what we're going to discuss exactly.
Well, in the second half of the show, we're going to be discussing when should a movie, TV, or comic book franchise do a reboot or a remake.
Yes, and that's perfect because technically this is kind of like our retcon, so we're starting over.
Yeah.
So we figured why not kick off our first show about starting over, rebirth, etc.
Anyways, so let's begin with our week. So, would anybody want to start it off?
I'll start off. My weekend was pretty alright, but just a couple days ago, I saw the coolest yet weirdest video ever online.
Yeah, and what is that exactly?
That would be the gritty, hardcore reboot of the Power
Rangers. I saw that yesterday.
That was just... Technically, it was awesome, but it felt like part of my childhood was severely injured.
Oh, yeah, they dragged your childhood from the trunk of a car and then Mercy killed it, Mafia style, then threw it in the river.
Awesome, but still, it hurt.
Yeah. So, what exactly did you like about it, and what exactly did you not like about it? If I could actually add my 2 cents on it, I like what they attempted, but at the same time, I get what you were saying about the childhood thing because it felt too wrong to see that version of it. Because I'm so used to like the Power Rangers being, happy dandy, even when they're fighting, it seems so innocent,
Exactly. First, I want to say 2 things. First, if you haven't seen the video yet, there would be some minor spoilers. And secondly, this video was not made by the permission of Saban. This was completely fan-made or reboot or whatever, and it was just on its own without permission.
Yeah, it's like the Mortal Kombat Legacy thing that came out recently before... with Kevin Takion, I think, before he actually made the YouTube series.
Right.
But I actually have some pros for it because, it's not like it was gritty for the sake of being gritty where they took, it actually brought up some interesting points, like how, why did the aliens target kids to basically get this technology and start hacking and slashing through alien races that they've never met before?
Yeah, and that's actually one of the good things. Like, I kind of like the sort of gritty, realistic battle where they're, like, using automatic guns.
Yeah.
Exactly. And but there was still, like, a great example was the whole sequence involving Zack, the original Black Ranger. Like, first of all, he turns out to be like Billy Blanks almost, which just became famous with his series.
Blanks. Oh my
yeah, that's
God.
an old reference. Came up with this series of videos to make every money, but at the same time, he's just like, he's doing crack.
Yeah, I was pretty...
And at the same time, that even still makes sense because those kids are addicted to adrenaline in high pressure situations.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It just makes sense that this guy would just become an adrenaline junkie.
And actually, fun thing I found out, if you look through the credits, those 2 women who are with Zack in bed in his beginning segments, those are actually the adult versions of Scorpina from the original series and the villain from the Turbo series.
Ah, wow.
Time flies, huh?
So what we just got right now is you should probably go see it right now because I hear that they're taking it offline. I got this from a reliable source just now in my ear.
That is true. I also heard the same thing, that Saban is actually pressuring them to take it down online because it makes them look really bad.
That makes sense, but so if you haven't seen it, go see it.
All right.
Also, it stars James Vanderbeek. So
yes,
look forward to
Dawson.
that.
All right. I was gonna say we probably should start moving on due to time. I did have something to bring up this week. The Big Bang Theory tribute episode that came out last week, or actually not. I'm sorry, this week. I don't know if you guys are aware, but the person or the actress who played Mrs. Wolowitz, actually in voice, passed away recently in November from cancer. Her name was Carol Ann Suzy.
Yeah.
So they did actually a really, really awesome tribute to her. I mean, in terms of character, they weren't. I don't think they weren't sure what to do with her since she passed away. But I think they ended it on a sad note, but at the same time, like tribute to who she was as a character, as well as her actor, the person who played the actor.
Actress, yeah.
So basically, Mrs. Wolowitz died in the actual episode, and it was pretty sad. And they actually had a gathering, and they talked about Mrs. Wolowitz, and I felt like it was very appropriate for the actress who passed away.
Yeah, and plus, as far as like actors with sitcom deaths go, it's like they can actually be really fitting and heartfelt like that, or could be like 8 Simple Rules where John Ritter passed away, yet they kept the show going even though he was the father, and it just felt really forced and awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the route they took in this one. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Other things I want to bring up is the Academy Awards. Not a really big surprise, but Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance actually did win top prize, which was really interesting because I saw the movie and I was really happy with it. And I'm not surprised that it won, but at the same time, I'm surprised that the Grand Budapest didn't take top prize.
Yeah, I gotta say, I agree with you. Birdman is a good movie, and I'm glad it got what it deserved, but I was really thinking Boyhood was going to win this year.
Boyhood. If you guys aren't familiar with Boyhood, it was one of those films that took, a literally lifetime to make?
Yeah, they were using the same actors from the moment they started filming.
Yeah.
And they literally kept using the same boy over and over and over again. So
over a course of 12 years.
Over a course of 12 years. And don't get me wrong, it was really well written, and everybody was expecting, this one got it, this one got it. According to the critics, supposedly it was just too repetitive, and people expected too much from it just because of the time it was taken to make it.
Right. Yeah, that's actually a good point. And plus, this is just me personally, but I just thought it was really boring.
I didn't see it, unfortunately, because
it was too boring.
It was too boring.
Anyway, so moving on. Anybody else have anything else they want to talk about?
I read Multiversity. I'm trying to introduce this because it'll go into our main topic. But yes, in this episode is Masterman, where Superman becomes a Nazi, and how that changes the outcome of the war.
Well, he was a
Spoilers
communist.
alert: Nazis won. Because they had Superman.
Right. That would tilt the odds of the war.
Yeah.
To continue.
And then the Justice League all became Nazis.
Wait. So Superman becomes a Nazi?
Yeah, because his rocket landed in Nazi-occupied territory.
Didn't they do a story where he became a
yes, that's Red
US
Sun.
Red Sun.
Yeah.
That's Red Sun. He lands in Soviet Russia.
It's not the same story then.
No.
What?
It's similar, but it's very similar, but it's not the same.
That's actually the worst case scenario. When I think about it, landing in Nazi Germany and just.
So it all depends where Superman lands, and that's where all the power goes.
Yeah, then he kind of takes on the spirit of the people because that's what he does.
So if he were to land in Southern California, he'd just be a real chill surfer.
Yeah, he'd probably just be in San Francisco, just really chill about everything.
He lands in Venice. Will he be a pothead?
Oh my god.
Probably broke. maybe a hipster. We'll call him hipster Superman.
Anyways, so moving on to our first subject of today, it's going to be multiverses. So first thing of all, I actually wanted to get into the whole theory and
he's flipping through his books right now,
actually
trying to find it.
I do have my book here, and I see a picture of Stephen Hawking.
I can see you did your homework.
So anyways, I actually love this book. It's called 30-Second Theories, and it's basically a poor man's big thick book of theories here.
You couldn't afford the extra pages, so you went for the discount.
So they actually have really cool things here. The first one is a 3-second thrash, and then there's a 3-minute thought. So I'm going to read on the 3-minute thought here, which it says, the multiverse idea, very similar to the idea of Schrödinger's cat, And if you're not familiar with Schrodinger's cat, it's basically the idea of a thought experiment where you take a cat in a box and he has a timed vial of poison with a particle bomb, I want to say.
It's like a radioactive substance.
Yeah,
There's like a
exactly.
hammer.
So-
Schrodinger really, he got really
Creative.
with this. Why couldn't the hammer just smash the cat's face?
Anyway, so the idea is that
9 lives.
but the idea behind it is it's quantum physics where stuff doesn't just happen until you observe it, apparently, right? So the idea is that unless you open the box and see what happened, you would not know if the cat's alive or dead based on quantum physics. So that's the whole idea of multiverse as well. That's kind of where it swung by. So if you're, but. Anyways, to continue on with the book itself, so Schrodinger's cat being dead or alive at the same time, one way of explaining this is that there are 2 universes. In one, the cat's dead while the other is alive. This is sometimes called the many world theories. The cat exists in both states at the same time, but in different universes. So that is basically a lot of things that happen in a lot of our favorite comics and movies and stuff like that. And one of the examples that I actually want to bring up, actually 2 examples. One good one and one corny one, but I still love the film so much that I'm willing to actually talk about it. The first one is actually Another Earth. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that film.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Never have.
It's a drama. It's very cleverly done. Basically, the idea is that there's a second Earth literally floating around close enough, kind of like the distance to the moon. And you see this second Earth, and they're contacting each other. But the thing is, they have copies of each other. There's another you up there.
Which one's the evil one?
That's the thing. They're not evil. They're nothing. They're basically different versions who made different choices, but somehow they're existing close to each other in some kind of plane. They never actually explain how this is happening. It's just there. It's happening. But that's the thing, though. That's why I like the film, because it doesn't try hard to explain. It just tells you what is going on, and it's a character-driven piece. But the thing in the story is that you have this young character who has her life going well until she gets drunk and literally kills a family's wife and daughter. The guy's like depressed and all. But anyways, she makes a really bad choice. The thing is, in the movie, the other Earth version of herself does not make these choices. In fact, it's one of those pieces where you see her struggle, but then you realize that her other self is like.
No, are they both aware of each other's decisions? Do they talk about it?
No. In the end, you realize that they did not make the same choices. And the other one, she sees herself and she's like, you could tell that she did not make the same choices.
Right.
But it's an interesting piece. The other movie that I wanted to mention is The Last Action Hero, believe it or not.
Really?
That is actually a multiverse film, if you believe it or not. I mean, it's
the
corny.
one with Schwarzenegger in the movies.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's corny,
buy that.
but it is a straight-out multiverse film, based because this kid who goes into another universe where Arnold Schwarzenegger is the action hero in the films. And
there's a cartoon cat for some reason.
Wasn't that Jingle All the Way, where he's a superhero also?
No.
No.
Schwarzenegger was a superhero in all his films. I mean,
Wrong. No, he was Mr. Freeze in Batman.
I'm always
yeah, that's right.
I am always the hero, even when I am the icy villain.
So, anyways, those are my examples for films. I don't know. I know you guys had a little bit more. You guys want to talk about in terms of comics?
Oh, actually, there was another one you probably should have brought up. Was the movie The One?
Yeah, The One is
Oh,
actually
Jet Li.
the thing with The One is that it coincides with the whole quantum suicide theory, which is kind of funny because he's basically not committing suicide but killing off his versions to make himself powerful. So
Taking his life energy, becoming stronger.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of funny that you brought that up because it brings to mind the quantum suicide.
One movie that I think every good old-fashioned hardcore nerd should also realize something when it comes to multiple universes as well as time travel. I believe Back to the Future has several ties with that.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
As we all know, in Back to the Future, there was a time paradox in which Marty McFly's dad was killed by Biff Tannen, which is part 2.
That is correct.
And it splits off into a tangent.
They just couldn't get back to that other universe, so they had
in
to
order
correct it.
they had to correct it, but it gives you a good idea what an alternate universe could be like. What if his dad had gotten shot? He'd be living a life with Biff as his dad and his mom with breast
Stepdad.
implants.
And I think that's what lends itself so well to comics because you get to see these characters. It's just like you're another Earth, I think you said it was,
Yeah, another.
where you get to know these characters in different contexts, and see how fragile they could be if something happens. things could have gone radically different.
Oh, that's correct. I actually wanted to bring up something. It's one of my favorite comics because the thing is, I don't read as many comics as you guys do.
Shame on you.
Life? No. But I do read comics. But the Flash. What was
yes.
Flashpoint?
Oh yeah,
Flashpoint was an amazing
is probably
comic.
the best example of what could go wrong.
yeah.
You might want to tell them what it's about. What Flashpoint, especially for the Batman one. Come on.
Okay, what happens is, well, I don't know. There's if I tell them, it'll be spoilers.
Well,
but
it's been out enough
Yeah,
that
it's
I
been
think.
it's been long enough.
Okay,
that it's
basically-
You guys know what you signed up for.
all right. So basically, well, how about this? There is some tampering in the time. You don't know if it's the Reverse Flash or what, but something changed, and it just created this butterfly effect where it interacted with all these characters. For instance, when you meet Batman, Barry Allen thinks it's Bruce Wayne, when in truth it was Bruce Wayne who was killed that night, and Batman became Thomas Wayne.
So
And his
actually,
mother became the
darker
Joker.
Batman.
so actually, before we get into that, I know there's a lot of people who know what Batman is, but just to kind of integrate like the idea of who he was, the whole turning point on why Batman became Batman is because his parents were shot when he was a kid. So take away that. In fact, not even take away that. Reverse the role. The father is the one who loses his wife. No, not his wife. I'm sorry, his son, who's
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, Batman. And this is the reality now. This is a split timeline.
It's an alternate tangent.
Yes, and Batman's mom becomes the Joker, which is an interesting
Surprising.
twist.
Surprising.
Yes.
I didn't really expect that. I thought that was kind of like.
And of course,
I thought it was an amazing little twist. they pulled off there.
the Atlanteans and Amazons, they were always pretty violent factions, but now they were able to, without the Justice League to temper that, they were able to go all out and start world wars.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but Superman actually lands in Roswell.
He lands in Metropolis actually, and that actually that gets the government involved because it's so populated.
Right.
And it causes devastation. So the government takes them in, and
It's been a while since I read it, so forgive me if I'm a little rusty.
no worries, man.
Yeah, well,
It
from
happens.
what I remember, he's locked up, and he never becomes the Superman that he should be, and he's like a little scrawny,
'Cause he's never been-
teenager-looking kid.
'Cause he's
Well, he
never
looks
been
like a kid, right?
Yeah, because he's never been too exposed to any sun, so he'd never developed the muscles that
That he needed.
Exactly. So, the funny thing about multi-world theories is that usually when we talk about it in terms of science, we never actually talk about time travel because it's just, but in terms of time travel, it integrates really well in terms of comics and films. But, at the same time, there's one thing I wanted to mention is always a choice, too, like in Multiverse. Like, you make a choice, and then based on that choice, you have a split, world, parallel world that made a different choice.
There's actually a really good example of that in Justice League animated movie called Crisis on Two Earths,
Oh, yeah.
where there was one version of the Justice League that are just all supervillains instead of heroes,
yes.
and vice versa. And the Batman version of that, named Owlman, realized if there's an Earth where this happened, based on this choice, then maybe, just maybe, there's like other Earths where my family's alive and well and yada yada. So eventually he traveled back to this one Earth.
Earth Prime, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
That's what it was
Earth-
called.
Yeah, it was called Earth Prime, where it's just like where all the basic decisions that ever happened, and that is just completely lifeless and destroyed.
All right. Actually, I want to jump in on there. I was talking about this with a friend just a few hours ago about this. We were actually talking about this, and it was kind of hard to grasp and try to explain. But to explain Prime, I actually used a tree metaphor. So the best way I could explain Prime is that Prime is actually the trunk of a tree, the bottom part, and then each choice that somebody makes splits off.
It branches out.
And then it branches out like a tree. It's literally, you got a bunch of little branches that represent different Supermen. And then you got Prime, which is the trunk, the originator of this whole tree branch of different universes.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
I actually think they actually used that metaphor in the movie.
Oh,
Nah.
I didn't realize
And
that.
they used it in Multiversity too, where it's pretty much like the Keystone, Keystone universe. And the only thing is like there is like an infinite number of multiverses. Just that in the there's 52 distinct universes governed by its own physics, or and that's what really separates them.
Right.
Just the drastically different ones where.
It's like, oh, Superman's a Nazi, or peanut butter jelly is poison,
Yeah,
or
Barack
it runs on
Obama
a
wasn't
spectrum.
elected.
Or a Bizarro universe where everything's just kind of messed up.
Bizarre.
Yeah, it's just you really got to do a lot of drugs to make sense of that universe. But I don't know, Blake. We talked a lot about DC universes. Tell us about the Marvel universes because it has a little more fluid flow to. multiverse.
Well, yeah, because there's actually Multiverses itself is explored in this What If series, where it's like, what if Storm was the one to pick up Thor's hammer, or what if the Marvel Civil War went differently, or what if Iron Man was a woman?
Or the Deadpool. What if he killed everybody?
Exactly. There's actually a whole series of books about Deadpool killing everybody in the universe. And that's, well, need to say violent. BTW, in the universe where Iron Man's woman, he marries Captain America.
Aw.
That's kind of
that
kind
is
of creepy.
That is horrible.
Why is that creepy?
Well, wait,
horrible.
is
Is he aware of the age?
no, I
Does he still have a mustache?
No, sadly.
Aw.
But anyway, actually in recent years, there's actually been a bit of a shakeup in the Marvel multiverse.
Yes, there has been.
Tell us. Explain.
Well, in it, there's like this major event that caused like the premature destruction of a universe, because, like all things, everything will eventually die. But since this one universe was destroyed prematurely, every other universe is slowly colliding into each other, and they're either merging or destroying each other.
Yeah, that's basically like membrane theory, where, according to some scientists, I quote scientists like I know who's telling it, but it's something I heard in Nova, basically. But the idea is that, in multiverse, there's different membranes, and if they collide, Big Bang. That's how a Big Bang is created. So I assume that's kind of like similar to what you're explaining. They destroy each other. They collide, they interact, and it's like an atomic bomb, basically, right?
Yeah, and actually, that's actually coming in a few months. There's actually going to be this major cross-company event where the mainstream Marvel Universe and the Ultimate Marvel Universe are just going to collide with each other, destroying each other, but at the same time creating its own unique world and taking on bits and pieces of other destroyed universes to create something known as Battle World.
That sounds like a Big Bang.
Now,
By the way, that is the proper pronunciation of Battle World.
you gotta have the dark, edge. Now, where does what happened to the Marvel Zombies universe? I kind of
that
skipped
was
up on that
such a
one.
great one.
Actually, that universe, for whatever reason, is going to be combining with the universe based on the Age of Ultra timeline
Holy jeez!
to create a timeline called Age of Ultron versus Marvel Zombies.
So
So
they
it's
basically took
that's
the
insane.
zombies versus robots concepts, and
it's essentially Terminator versus Walking Dead.
Oh, geez.
Does Rick still have the beard?
Sadly, it's not that
A
Walking
mechanical
Dead.
beard? I'm just saying a mechanical beard.
That's I was just using those as an example. That's not going to be a thing. Although I
not.
would pay money to see that.
All right, so I actually wanted to before because we're gonna have to move on very soon, but something to kind of consider and talk about just briefly is the movies, the Marvel movies that are recently coming out. One thing that I actually wanted to consider is that a lot of people are kind of complaining like, yeah, these are not they're not like the comics, and I get it, but they're good. But at the same time, I actually started thinking them more in terms of their multiverse versions of their characters. They're different characters, but they're same characters, like in Infinite Universe or in Zombies. They're just different versions, like multiverse versions. And I don't know. What do you guys think about that, though?
well, I mean, go ahead, Afra.
Well, yeah, it's like I'm saying. It's like sure, these are like different, unique-ish versions of the characters, but if you're a fan of the comics, or you've seen like the various animated or other TV versions of them, so you could still see like the basis of like the original versions. Like you could see like Iron Man is still a pretentious jerk, or Captain America still believes in the ideas of America instead of just like what the government says. Like if you see those, you just still see like those are the characters I know and love.
Yeah, the same goes for those who don't know. I'm a huge Arrow fan. There is a lot of, oh, well, that's not how Arrow did this, or that's not how Green... Okay, this is not the comic book. This is a canon line of its own. Yes, it pulls several aspects from the New 52 series, the original series, the old one. It pulls bits, but it's its own line. So, I mean, if you guys watch your movies, Spider-Man, the Avengers, or even these new DC movies that are coming out, just consider and keep in mind that the movies in their own way are canon. Yes, they are their own stories, and yes, they very well be like their own multiple universes.
And it doesn't take away anything from the comics. I mean, that's why I actually go to the movies. I want to see these characters, but I want to get to know them in different contexts, So
Pass the page.
And also, like, see, like, okay, well, I wonder how this director interprets my favorite character.
That's correct.
Yeah, Tim Burton. I mean, obvious.
Pretty good Batman. Pretty good Batman.
He did not read a Batman comic book in his life, obviously, but
But God help me if that adaptation didn't stick.
yeah, it stuck with you. So
All right, so you guys, it's time to move on. Actually, I do have a public service announcement, which I'm going to call Nerd Tip PSA number 29. 29. But anyways,
Our first show back, and we're starting with 29.
so anyways, this is a pretty serious subject. It's something that happens in a lot of cons. But
Oh, please do.
anyways, here's the PSA. What if you're wearing something sexy? Question mark. What if you're drinking? What if you made the first move? No matter what, sexual assault is never your fault. Support is available 24/7 through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Call 1-800-656-HOPE or visit rain.org. That's RAINN.org, RAIN. Reminding you it's never your fault. A reminder from a place where people make a difference, WP on the net.
Yes, please.
So anyways, moving on, we were talking about Marvel Universe, and that, well, in terms of the movies.
Wow.
And then that kind of brings up Spider-Man. I remember there was a discussion of Spider-Man, and also the question is, when is it okay to make, correct me if I'm wrong, when is it correct to, when is it okay to make a reboot, remake, and anything of the same nature?
That is actually a pretty good question, because it actually also goes back to our comic discussion earlier, because after this big Marvel event and after DC's big events, they're actually going to be starting over the whole new batch of number ones coming out in their comic books. And people are like saying, oh, these are all reboots or deboots or boots.
yeah, people hate learning new things.
Yeah, not only for Marvel Universe. Am I the only DC reader? Devin,
No,
you like
I'm-
DC? For you guys
Are you kidding me?
fully aware of the New 52 series. A lot of people at first were really opposed to the idea of, oh, I don't want to hear the story. Now everyone's all into it.
Yeah.
It's not so much that it's being rebooted. You're getting a new a refreshment of something that was great in its time.
Yeah, and it's like what we said earlier. It's like, those comics that we liked, The Brightest Day, those are still there. I mean, so.
Brightest Day is amazing.
No, it's
Love
right.
that one.
Yeah.
I
This one,
actually have a question for you guys. Something that came into mind right now is something kind of you guys mentioned about, like comic books. When you remake them, what is the major argument? 'Cause
Major argument, huh?
I got a point with this. That's what I'm saying. 'Cause
Like pro or against?
against, more or less.
Well, first off, like for DC's New 52 boots, there's like still like a bunch of different storylines that afterwards were left unanswered.
Yeah, we're.
And sometimes there's like, how can you do a reboot? They're still in the middle of such and such.
Okay. Because the thing is, I'm trying to see this as in a film perspective, because there's a lot of films that have been rebooted and remade, and the thing is, it feels like they're always complete, or in some cases, like for instance, Fantastic Four,
Oh,
or
Lord.
what is another one that's recently coming? Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It feels like they're trying
The
to
first Hulk movie.
the first Hulk movie.
Jesus.
Well, the thing is, they're trying to retell the same story initially, and that's one of the complaints that I hear a lot. A lot of people are like, for instance, Spider-Man. Let's not start off with the origin. Let's start off that he's already Spider-Man, and let's tell a story based on
It's
that.
kind of like the Tim Burton Batman. Like it starts off, he's already Batman. He's been mostly urban legend, but people are aware of Batman's existence. But they just sort of told his story in like flashbacks or through just a determined look when he's at where his parents were shot.
I think the problem between, like the nerd geek community and people that just go to watch a movie is that for any of them, they're like, oh, this looks like an interesting film. I'm going to sit down and watch it. Okay, it was good. But for the rest of us who have read the comic books and know the stories, we're like, okay, you need to feed a bit of both. Yes, you need to give the readers a new look on Thor, Iron Man, Spider-Man. That's fair. But you also need to consider that you have fans who know their stories by heart. Don't change it to a point where it's completely unrecognizable. Like, take Tobey Maguire. A lot of some of the people I know, they like the Spider-Man movies. I kind of like them too. But if you look at Spider-Man, he's supposed to be this young, slightly sarcastic, energetic kind of guy. Like, yeah, let's go save the city. And instead you get, I'll always be there for you, MJ.
Oh my god!
And
no, it
Actually,
shoots you in the face.
I got a something just popped in my mind. Have you guys been watching Man Seeking Woman? I forgot the actor's name.
Jay Baruchel?
Jay Baruchel. Can you imagine him as Spider-Man?
What?
I'm just saying, because
Not with that beard.
beard.
I could see
Oh,
it.
no. Hold on. No.
I could see it, but I wouldn't read too much into it.
Okay. Anyways, sorry for sidetracking. Go on. Continue.
Anyway, and going off what what he said earlier. Sorry, your name's blank.
David.
Oh, man.
Please forgive me, but
David.
David.
I think my name
No,
is
your
David.
name's
David. There's. Forgive me. Anyway, going off what he said earlier.
It's because originally back in the day we were named nicknames, so he was Snake Man.
I was
so.
Snake Man.
Anyway, so going off what David said earlier is like there's also people on the other side. It's like with the amazing Spider-Man movies, and it's like Spider-Man in the beginning is supposed to be like this sort of meek, nerdy type of guy, and then gets superpowers. But this guy, when
He's still
Andrew
meek.
Garfield starts off, he's like this already super confident and cocky. It's like, no, he's supposed to be sort of nerdy.
You're supposed to build up and learn what
Yeah,
strength
he
is.
kind
That
of
was
like
pretty
the
good. but-
movies both kind of like went on opposite ends of the spectrum, and
So
they need to really join in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. Somewhere between those two is a perfect Spider-Man.
And I think at this
the
point
two
it
together?
wouldn't work out because we already that make like what three Spider-Man reboots.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
enough. That's enough.
That's a lot of reboots.
Yeah.
So we need to like give it like time to breathe.
Okay, there's you kind of mentioned something right now, and actually I wrote down a particularly good question. When is it okay to make a remake? Okay, if anything, what makes it not okay? How do I even reword this?
Time.
Okay, I know. Because, here's a few examples of movies that I felt shouldn't have really been remade. Like Spider-Man, for instance. I mean, Tobey Maguire, okay, but it felt like they're trying to tell the same story.
Yeah,
Right.
but that's what I'm saying. Like time in general, it's like you just released it. Like don't get me wrong, those Spider-Man movies, yes, it was a while ago,
Oh.
but they're still fresh in the painful memories of people who like Spider-Man. Don't throw another one and try to fix it.
Here's the thing, though. I actually can counter that more or less with a
Counter
really
away.
good example of even though there's time between a certain film to be remade, there's still some element. I'm trying to pinpoint exactly what makes a reboot fail, and one of them is actually popularity or slash some kind of nostalgia to it. What I mean
Yes.
is Psycho. Good key example.
Oh,
Psycho.
boy.
Okay,
Psycho
that
was an
hurt.
excellent film when it came out back in the 60s. But then Gus, I forget his full name, but Gus, the director, with Vince
Vaughn.
playing
Norman Bates.
Norman Bates. So that film is interesting because it's literally a shot of the original film. It was, I mean, people joke about this. They're like, what did you do? Take a freaking VHS or DVD and literally just watch the whole movie as you filmed it? But that's the thing, it was literally a remake, a literal remake of the original one, just with different house, a different
Actors.
actor, different everything. So in that case,
Actually, I think I read somewhere about the director saying like, "Oh, I just did that as response to all these other needless remakes coming out." I was like,
needless. I don't know. It was okay because my opinion on it was unnecessary. I feel like at least try to do something different
Because then you might as well just watch the original.
because
so.
yeah, exactly. Just watch the original. Because what's the point in making something that's the same if the original one is equally, if not better?
That's something there was an argument about this a couple years back. For those of you who don't know, Back to the Future was to have a remake because of the of the Knight Rider remake. However,
Oh, with Chim.
this is the problem with trying to make a remake of something like that. You see, Ninja Turtles is something that we watched as kids.
"Right,
But, we respect it. And most of us, who are especially nerds, geek, we still like it. Okay, we'll give it another shot. But things that have a legacy to it,
Yeah, I think that's
you cannot retouch that ever
But-
again. It is perfect in its own
But
way.
what is a legacy? Like, what creates a movie that makes it so? Like, for instance, Star Wars.
Oh,
I
They
feel-
could
I
never
feel-
touch that.
I
No,
feel
that's it.
like Star Wars. But here's the thing.
feel free to do sequels or prequels, but do not remake."
But here's
Ever.
here's another interesting thing. Star Trek, another untouchable, as I think I would want to define it. They did something in terms of almost rebooting it, but they did it cleverly.
Yeah, I won't give you that because for those of you who have or have not seen, it's like it's set in a different timeline, but it's still sort of in that continuity in a way that makes sense.
Yeah. So basically, the idea is that Spock, who is awesome at all things, somehow manages to go back in time, and it's like Back to the Future. He
Yeah.
screws it up, but this he doesn't fix it. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't fix the timeline. So initially, the events of the original Star Trek, what would have happened, basically did not happen the same way. So we got kick. Can I even say that word? An awesome Kirk, who we see from the beginning. Which I actually did enjoy. I really liked his extra portrayal.
I like the first new Star Trek, but Into Darkness was just.
It was weird. Okay. The thing is, it felt like they were kind of riding the gravy train and try to literally remake every event from the original Star Trek stuff. So they literally took Wrath of Khan, and it was basically Wrath of Khan. But it's funny because here's an interesting anecdote. I actually have somebody who I knew who did not actually see the original one. She loved it. And I was like, have you seen the original Wrath of Khan? Because that's basically what they're trying to do. And she's like, no, go. I'm like, do yourself a favor. Sit down and watch original Wrath of Khan, and you'll see why I'm just like this, a ripoff. I don't know. I felt kind of cheated, but I liked it. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying. Like, I felt cheated. Like, as in, like,
It's for like
for few callbacks to the original one. I mean, like the battle. I mean,
yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry. Dave,
no. I mean, it just goes back to the whole nostalgia thing. I mean, for those of us who have our roots in the past, who embraced it way before, seeing a remake, we're not going to be like, oh, this is new. We're going to be like, okay, how close can you stay to the story without screwing it up? Take Star Wars, for example. 3, 4, 5. Oh my God, we're in the winds. Okay. So now we see Anakin Skywalker as a kid. Okay. What? Jar Jar. What? Jar Jar was probably like the biggest. What the hell does he have to do with this?
Yeah, I mean,
It was a stab.
the good part about that is
He's so offensive.
I mean,
Oh, geez.
I'm sorry. I meant 4, 5, and 6. Why did I say 3, 4, and 5?
it's okay. We forgive you. We know
Oh,
what we're
man.
talking
No,
about.
I know what you meant.
I'll hang out my Jedi cape.
Oh,
later.
jeez.
Go into the Sith.
But hang up your lightsaber. You are no longer worthy.
Oh, okay, that's fair. I'll
So,
take
but
that.
what about reboots that are that things where it should be rebooted? But
That's a good question.
Like RoboCop. I mean, 'cause-
Oh.
Okay. Actually, I have mixed feelings about that because the original one was bad.
no, the first one was
First one.
amazing.
Amazing.
We're
First
not
one was
having anyone
bloody.
bad mouthing it.
That was amazing.
But 2 and 3,
Yeah,
it
we don't
left
talk
itself
about
to be
those.
rebooted.
Yeah.
But here's my problem with the RoboCop reboot. It was rated PG-13.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was
About
the
that.
biggest thing that going against it in comparison to the original.
Like, here's the one thing. I understand the film industry is trying to make money, and I get that. I know you're trying to make money. But at the same time, a few years ago, I'm talking about years back, directors and producers had freedom to make good movies. Had. So
That's over now.
Unfortunately, we're going to still continue getting these reboots and remakes. And, it's basically what they're doing. The formula is, let's take something established and let's remake it. Money.
Yeah, it's because what they're thinking is like, okay, this made money in the past. This is already tested. This character. So let's just keep making
with it.
All right. So actually, I wanted to kind of throw in a question in there. Let's just say you are those producers or big company studios in power, and somebody told you, let's make money, remake something.
Firefly. I'm not even flinching. Firefly.
Get your lightsaber, buddy. You're back in.
Firefly.
You didn't even hear my question exactly.
No,
But
I-
you're good. I get where you're going because
You
I actually
said,
like that.
We need
But-
to make money. Let's get a reboot.
but
Firefly.
exactly. Okay. So the question more or less is what previous films should be being remade? And Firefly, I will
was a TV
totally agree
show.
with you. I will totally.
So we're going off movies. Just movies in general.
and
Or TV or
TV
let's
shows.
just TV for a second.
yeah,
argument.
TV shows.
TV, I'm not flinching.
I-
Firefly.
Actually, I do have one or two or one. I have them written down. The first one, it's a pretty oldie, but I think it has room for creative greatness. Is Westworld? I don't know if you guys are familiar with Westworld.
Actually, I
Westworld,
could be wrong. They actually are doing a remake of Westworld.
I will be happy to see it.
I think it's actually going to be an HBO series.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So,
boy.
If you guys don't know what Westworld was, it's actually one of those. You've probably seen hints of it everywhere and not know what the originator was. For instance, in The Simpsons, there was a episode of Krusty Land where the robotics suddenly turned evil and started attacking the guest. That's
know
actually Westworld.
So there was a camera at it.
Well, Westworld basically is that it was just one part of a bigger attraction. They had Westworld, they had Greek world, they had another world, and you could go visit as a vacation, and you pay, and then you get to live out your fantasies through a theme. So, Westworld was one of the big ones, and the main character went, and then all of a sudden he sees a robotic figure who wants to constantly kill him. But later on, all the robots turned crazy and started killing off everybody. And he survived. It's basically, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, it's basically Terminator. but without the time traveling.
And they're already rebooting Terminator, so
Unfortunately.
I don't know if I want to say unfortunately because I'm kind of excited for this new one.
It feels too close to the original. I mean, because they're just
Is Sarah Connor actually in this?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
she's
she's
the
played
Khaleesi.
by played by the Khaleesi from Game of Thrones.
That's odd. Like
That's why I want to watch it.
Yeah,
Sarah Connor's story was said and told and ended as well. Why is it? Why are they touching that?
And it looks like
Okay.
this is going to be more of a time paradox than the last one.
Yeah.
This movie is basically it's the same way. It's the same parallel universe thing we were talking
from
about
Star
earlier.
Trek, right?
Star Trek. What happens is that I don't know because they didn't really give into what happens initially, but something happens where a Terminator or somebody sends a Terminator back in time. We don't know who, when, or how, or why, but he's sent back far to the childhood of Sarah Connor's
Connor.
childhood. We don't know if he's trying to kill her or anything. We don't have that
Well,
information.
he seems to have raised her. He became
Yes,
like her father.
That
in
is
a way.
actually correct. We do see that.
And
we
it's
do know
Arnold.
raised her.
And it's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He grew old.
So we're seeing a different version of what happened.
What happens when a Terminator
Because
raises?
what's his name? No, because the thing is, in the beginning of the trailer, it begins like
Of
the
them
first
signing
one.
back Kyle Reese.
Yeah, Kyle Reese was supposed to do exactly what the first film did, but he's like startled because what he thought was going to happen is not what's happening. He's like, we don't. She's like, we don't need. We're handling it.
He's like, I'm here to save you, and she's
He's
like,
like,
no,
no.
dude, I'm here to save you, man.
Exactly.
Oh, the Papa T100.
Yeah, and there's also going to be a new T1000, and it looks cool, but I'm still hesitant.
I know.
What about the new Jurassic Park film? What's
That's
your guys'
technically
view on
not a
that?
remake.
That's actually
or
a
reboot.
sequel, right?
That's a
It's
sequel.
a sequel, but what's your guys? They're trying to. they're
I
trying to
know
get the
we're-
dinosaur thing back up. but-
We're like in the same.
I
field.
like it. I mean, because it's like it's showing you. To me, it is almost like a parallel of the first one. It's like, what happens if they got Jurassic Park right?
And plus, it's
And
Chris. It's
and
Chris Pratt on a motorcycle with a pack of raptors. I'm
Trained
sold.
raptors. Trained raptors.
raptors.
I did read on that.
Okay.
Trained raptors.
And I'm sold.
Okay, I wanted to add something on that. I don't know if you ever guys actually searched out Jurassic Park like a while ago, and they were talking about. I know it was an IO9 or something like that, or Kotaku or whatever. But they were talking about how originally Part 3 or whatever part they were considering that the dinosaurs were going to be hybrids with DNA, and they were going to look kind of humanoid, and they were going to be used as like weapons or army guys or whatever. I don't know if you
Reptile
remember that.
soldiers?
Yeah, they were actually considering that apparently, but they decided not to do that.
Yeah, that's
but
Still have
Good.
atomic weapons,
yeah, but it's
Army.
funny because right now, once you see the trailers, you kind of realize they're using elements of that idea with the DNA. And,
the
and
Indominus Rex.
yeah, and I think that's what's happening. There's theories about the raptors having maybe altered DNA, and that's why they're more controllable. But then again, they brought up the idea of Part 3, where they're stuck in the island, and I remember they were about to be attacked because of the egg. One of the characters had an egg, and the raptors were like about to attack
Right.
them, and
And Dr. Grant pulls out the
little
vocal cord
vocal
from
cord.
a velociraptor.
So, but the thing is, they drop the egg, they grab the egg, and they run off. So, one person was actually saying that maybe they're not that hard to kind of, convince not to kill you.
It's just a matter of natural parental instincts. Either give me my kid or I cut you. It's plain and simple.
Also, it helps if you have a little fake vocal cord thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to the whole reboot discussion,
Yeah, of course.
but I would say if I had to pick a show, I'm going to pick a show that's still on the air, but I think deserves a complete overhaul, and that's Gotham.
Oh.
You mean the current one that's running
Yes,
right
the
now?
one that's going right now needs
Gotham?
needs a complete overhaul, in my opinion.
Can I actually say...
I took off my headphones and I just put them back. But Gotham overhaul, I heard.
Yeah,
That's,
Gotham.
Yeah.
That's weird because...
Explain.
It's hard to... Because it feels like it's still continuing,
Yeah, okay. First off, the premise in itself is like, oh, it's Jim Gordon taking over the Gotham Police before Batman. He's destined to fail if that's the premise. Like, he can't fix Gotham because if he fix Gotham, there's no point in Batman existing.
Oh.
And secondly,
Okay.
I would have done it in a sense is like we actually see like the origin of Batman's villains and like the actual tragedy behind their metamorphoses into what they've eventually become.
Yeah.
Because like I was actually having a discussion with Devin not too long ago about this. Because like you see Two-Face and he's already super aggressive with other people. You see Poison Ivy, she's already
weird.
She's already weird with this plant obsession. You see Riddler, and he's already questioning everybody in riddles, and it's just like, we've already know what these people are already messed up.
It's like these people did not actually grow. They were already these people before, before Batman came on, and all they're doing is just waiting for Batman to come on so they can put on their costumes.
Exactly.
So it's like, what's the point? And also, I agree with the Scrub Gotham thing completely, because the first vigilante that took the law into their own hands is this person called the Balloon Man.
Yeah.
What?
He strapped people to balloons and sent them up in the air, and then they popped later and fell.
Yeah.
He was cleaning up.
That's another thing. If one of your early villains, quote unquote, is called Balloon Man,
Yeah.
you needs work.
Yes.
Well, it's not as bad as. Well, actually, maybe Balloon Man is pretty bad as Condiment Man.
Yeah,
there have been
it's up there.
worse.
It's up
Condiment
there.
King. You see, I think
Condiment King. Oh yeah.
I want to go the opposite route. I want to give him a gritty reboot.
Oh,
I want to put him front and center of an Arrow.
That's a
episode.
pretty acceptable.
That was beautiful.
That's a pretty acceptable reboot there. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing at least in the comic book form.
I would actually like to quickly embellish a little bit on what Devin said. I actually went to the Arrow and Flash crossover event, the season premiere. We were actually talking to the directors, and we were wondering, why are you getting villains that look either extremely corny or look weird, and making them look good? For example, Rainbow Raider. His costume is literally a rainbow with a smile while he's riding a rainbow. You see him on Flash, and he's this dude with shades. So every time he looks at you,
He
go
looks
into
at you
a
and he makes you
blitz
do
rage
things.
to kill everything in your sight.
Yeah, that actually be. I don't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Batman have a rainbow outfit at one point as well?
Yeah, but that was to a distraction so that no one noticed that Robin broke his arm.
Huh.
I didn't know
Really?
that.
Wow.
Okay.
So he had to wear a different color every night, so no one would say, "Hey, Robin has a broken arm. Let's get that kid."
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, continue on with your rainbow-colored.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I mean, if it's done in the right hands, I mean, they could take something as what the hell as Rainbow Raider and be like, oh, hey, let's not.
They could do
let's
that.
not
They
mess
can
with
definitely do Condiment King well.
or Balloon Man.
I wanna get him a Bane mask though. And it's like, yes, I wonder what you'd prefer, the ketchup or the mustard.
I'm going to relish this victory.
Oh
See,
my
it can be
God.
done.
Relish.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a gritty, a comedy, serious. It's kind of be like Deadpool, basically.
All right, so
in that sense.
German, you got Westworld.
Yeah, Westworld, and actually Logan's Run.
Ooh, Logan's Run. Oh yes.
Yeah,
But
that
here's the thing, though. They actually did recently come out with a film that was similar to it, where you do have I forgot the it's I believe it's the same guy with from Looper and Terminator. Did I say Terminator? Looper. Remember the
Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Yeah, didn't he? Wasn't he in a film where they literally have a certain amount of time and then somehow he's
Oh
running out
yeah,
of time?
Just in Time or something like that. Well, that was Justin Timberlake though.
Yeah. yeah.
And Gordon-Levitt was in it too. Yeah, it was In Time. Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
that
it's
movie.
With the little timer on the wrist.
That
right?
is basically
Oh, yeah.
Logan's Run from the trailer, from what I saw. I don't know. I haven't seen it because it seems so dumb.
It was
the
a
premises.
pretty good movie.
I saw it on cable. But it's essentially like Logan's Run, but with makes the whole 1% versus 99% word thing, because the richest 1% lived on to be 500-600 years old.
They were practically immortal because they were so wealthy with time.
Exactly. While
and
the
poor people can't afford coffee apparently.
yeah, exactly. And poor people are lucky they live past 30.
Well, okay, since you watched it, I do have a question, just so I could get an idea how it relates or it might be different from Logan's Run. The 99%, were they when the time came, when their time came along, were they kind of, because I remember in the original Logan's Run you had the carousel and then you had to renew, quote unquote, like you're basically reincarnate into a new person or whatever. But the thing is, the catch is that it was all BS. You don't renew; you're just being killed off.
The way it worked on In Time was, yeah, you had this digital time route on your arm that just count down literally to the second of when you'll eventually die, and once you're hit time, you just fall dead.
And they are fully aware of it. Now the wealthy, I believe, one of the girl's parents literally has, what was it, 1 million years, right? If I remember
Right.
correctly? 1 million years stored, ready to go. So I mean, it's not that they're going to be like, oh well, our time's coming. No, they'll be like, oh well, we're going to keep living.
Just go make a million more.
I got 1 million years in the time bank.
And what's
That's
weird is-
actually how it was phrased. There was a time
There's a
bank.
time bank, yeah.
Yeah, they break into it. The thing is, everyone's separated. Like all the wealthy people, rich on they're in the fancy part of town, while the poor people are living in the ghetto, and they're lucky to have, anything.
Again, lucky to live past 30.
All right, so you guys, we actually do have, unfortunately, 1 minute left because, unfortunately,
Oh no.
rules are rules, and we have to be off at 55.
Oh no.
Oh.
So, last thoughts, you guys.
I love you.
Not that kind of last thoughts.
I need coffee.
No, not that
me
kind of
too.
last thoughts.
Okay, I'll just say real quick.
In terms of multiverse and reboots.
I just want to say this. One good way to when you know you need a reboot is if your last movie was Batman and Robin. Then you need a
Ouch.
reboot.
Correct.
And yes, and just in the terms of multiverses, there is a multiverse out there where you are Captain America, so you cherish that thought.
That's correct.
Lovely.
So, thank you, you guys, for listening in. And we're going to be here next week.
Yep.
And I'm not sure we're going to talk about more or less. I remember we were talking about it just a minute
we
ago.
were talking about what is it to truly be a nerd.
Yeah, that is correct. We're going to talk about
It's
nerdism
gonna
in
get,
general.
This one's gonna get feisty, so bring your boxing gloves.
And feel free to ask questions on Facebook or on our Twitter
Yes,
at
please.
Nerd Talk Radio.
That is correct. NerdTalkRadio.com and also on our Facebook. And our, what is our Twitter is NerdTalk, at NerdTalk
Don't
Radio.
we have like another email, like a Yahoo account? Or?
We have carrier pigeons.
Okay.
We don't have, we have carrier pigeons. But thank you for listening. I am German, the film guy.
I'm Devin James, the DC comic nerd.
I'm Blake Calvert, the marvelous superfan.
And I'm the David who goes to too many conventions.
That's correct.
Thank
and
you,
also
David.
he
That was
does play a lot of video games, and he will be our more or less our video game nerd for the time being at sometimes.
I'll be happy to be of service.
All right, cool. Thank you guys, and we'll be back next week.
Au revoir.
Bye-bye.